Today I'm going to do an equipment overview on the 180 gallon Reef. Stay tuned. This tank has been running just over 4.5 years, and I guess I'm sort of in the middle of a soft reboot. I've taken a lot of stuff out of here, refreshing, some of the things in this tank. I had some really good success, with over those last 4.5 years. Things grew really good, kind of overcrowded the tank. Things started to die off, and then things went bad. So reefs are constantly evolving. Things will grow, things will die. Sometimes you just need to change things up. So that's kind of where I'm at now. But I'm going to show you the equipment that I'm using today. Some of the stuff I've been using all along. Some stuff is brand new to me. But yeah, I'm just going to show you everything that I've got going on now. So in front of us here is my 180 gallon Reef. This is a standard marine land aquarium. The dimensions are 6 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet. Sorry, I don't know the metric conversion for that. Flashed up on the screen if I remember to do it. And this is sitting atop a custom DIY stand that I had made. And this is actually the first time in about 2 years that I've put the doors on the stand. I always have them off because I like looking at all the equipment. But I put them back on today, just kind of remember what it looks like. It looks pretty good for a DIY stand, if I do say so myself. But anyway, yeah, let's get into the gear. All right, so those doors had to come back off so we could see the engine room down there. And I'm going to try and go through this quickly because I know I could spend all day talking about all of this stuff. If you guys have any questions or anything, just leave them in the comments, and I'll answer them as best I can. But yeah, let's get into it. So standard tank, it's got just the corner overflows. There's one of these on each corner, and it is drilled to accept just the standard, I think it's a Durso style, just whatever it came with. That's what I used. As far as lighting, I have this light bar hanging from my ceiling. And the main lights, I have the 3 Hydra 52 lights there. These are the older ones. They are not the HD ones. And I sort of prefer these for the reason that I could control these with the Apex. There's a module that lets me control them all in the Apex. So everything's controlled by that. Then to fill in the gaps, these are max spec Razor. I think they were 120 or 130 watt versions. And that fills in the middle. And just answer one question or comment that I get often. People say, why do I keep my lights, these Hydra 50s, mounted this way and not the other way? Easy. This is the light bar I have. It doesn't allow me to mount them the other way. They have to go this way. I'm sure I could build some kind of a bracket or something to do it the other way, but I didn't feel like doing that. This is how they are. I don't have the option to switch them unless I DIY something. So that's how they are, and they work fine. I mean, you can see this tank is pretty well lit. I don't see any shadows or gaps, with this configuration, so I'm fine there. I did mention Apex, so we'll show that a little bit later, but there's a couple, everything is hooked up to that. So I do have 2 cooling fans. I got one there and one over there, and they are controlled by the Apex, so if the tank hits a certain temperature, they come on. I do have an auto feeder connected up here, so that when that comes on, food just drops in through the screen. And I do have screen tops on here. I think that's pretty important. Otherwise your fish are going to jump out. It happens. It's happened to me. I would always recommend putting screen tops on your tanks. And that's it for up there. For flow, I've got a Neptune wave pump on that side and another one on this side. And I've also got 2 other circulation pumps, one right there and one right there. Those are Jabo, I think they're PP8s, just the older model Jabo pumps. and they're working fine for me in the back. So these two pumps are kind of pointing into the middle. They're coming this way. Creates a big deal of turbulence here in the middle of the tank, and generally my sand gets blown to either side, and I've just pushed it all back today. But yeah, it gives a pretty decent amount of flow in this tank. So there's that. All right, down below, we'll just, I guess, follow the path of the flow. So I've got two inlets coming in here, and it's from each of the corner overflows, and they go into filter socks. My sump is a DIY sump. It's a 40 breeder, and I had the glass baffles cut. I mounted them in there myself. So it goes into the filter socks. And here I have my skimmer. This is a Reef Octopus Regal 200 SSS skimmer. And it was like the older model, which did not have the new control box. So I did upgrade it to the newer control box, which allowed me to put a float switch in there. I don't know if you could see it back there. There's a float switch in the skimmer cup. So if the skimmer cup gets full, it shuts off the skimmer, so it doesn't overflow on me. And again, the skimmer is controlled by my Apex, which does power monitoring. So when the float switch kills the power to the pump, the Apex realizes, hey, there's something going on. I'm not getting enough, the skimmer's not drawing any power. I get a notification, so I know that my skimmer cup is full. Down there is a Maxijet 1200 pump, which is pumping water through my media reactor. I am running GFO in there, and it goes into the carbon chamber on this side. And I do have a little bit of Phosguard in there. I've been battling some very high phosphates, so I'm kind of taking the two-step approach here. A little bit of carbon in there, clean things up. It's working out pretty good. This middle section is a refugium, which I grow Chaeto in. There's a bunch of rubble and some sand down there. And then up here, I use, it's the Kessel 380, I think. That's the purple light for growing Chaeto. Works really, really good. It's a good light. Up there's a little breakout box, I guess you call it. That allows me to connect my Jabo pumps that were up there for the flow into my Apex. So yeah, they're controlled by the Apex now. And you can program them to however you want to do them. Then comes into this overflow. I have some mangrove there. Got my probes for my Apex in there. And then it flows down, under, and up here. And I don't know if you can see because it's really dirty in there, but that's where I keep my heater in this chamber right here. So I've got a titanium heater laying down in there. And then the water flows back into here. And I've got a PMUP pump controlled obviously by the Apex, which is pumping water up into my UV sterilizer. And that gets back out. And I got a flow monitor for the UV sterilizer. Goes back out here so I can monitor the flow and know that I have the correct amount of flow going through the UV sterilizer. For auto top off, I've got the Tunzi 5017. That thing is awesome. I mean, I've had that for 4.5, 5 years or whatever. It's never failed me, knock on wood. But it's really good. I highly recommend it. And that keeps my auto top off going. And the pump is actually goes down through that hole in the floor. My auto top off reservoir, the water is actually in the basement below us, and that little pump can pump the water up here to the tank, so it works out pretty good for me. Apex head unit right there. Don't really need to say much about that. If you know what an Apex is, you know what you're looking at. This is brand new for me, the Trident. This will test the alkalinity, magnesium, and calcium in my tank, and I am really impressed with this thing. I am loving it, and I've only had this less than a month, so far so good with that. My return pump, so down there is where I have it drilled out, and that is the, I guess, the inlet for my return pump. I use an external pump. It's an Milwaukee AC pump. don't remember the exact model. I can't see it from here. But I think it's 822 gallons per hour, something like that. And I do have a flow meter hooked up to it with the Apex, and I pump out about 400 gallons an hour actual is what that's doing for me. And it seems to be working pretty good. And then in this stand up above, I've got various mounting points for a lot of the wires and equipment and stuff. It's all up there, tucked away. Okay, so I just realized my microphone came unplugged, so I lost the audio part of the way through, so I'm doing this again, so I hope I don't repeat myself. But right here is another item that is brand new for me. This is a calcium reactor. This is a Geo 2-stage calcium reactor. I forgot the exact model number, but if you look on our website, you'll see it. So I've got this hooked up. pH controlled through the Apex, and I've got the carbon doser hooked up here, and it is using the Camor pump to pull the effluent through it. So I'm doing the pull method, not the push method. We've got the power supplies for the max spec lights. They're right there. And then over here, some of the Apex equipment. I do run 2 of these energy bars. So I've got one there and one up there. To power all of my equipment, I think I've got everything plugged in through the Apex. And then some modules. This is PM1. That's for monitoring pH. So that's my calcium reactor probe is hooked up to that. And that also has an external or another temperature probe on it, which I use just to monitor the room temperature. Back there is the AMW module, and that is used to control those older Hydra 52 lights. I just remembered the newer lights, I believe you can control them with the Apex without any additional gear, but I've got the older one and it requires that. I've also got a FMM module. That's the flow monitoring or fluid monitoring module. And I've got the 2 flow meters hooked up to that, as well as 2 leak detectors. There's one down there, and there's another one under the carpet here. And I do have a breakout box, which the switch is connected to that. That also has a float switch connected to it downstairs into my auto top-off reservoir, so I know when the water's getting low. We do have some additional open spots there, which I'll probably hook some stuff up, like I got my reagent waste for the Trident here. Maybe I'll put a float switch in there so I know when it's starting to get full. And I'm trying to think what else is here. I don't know if I missed anything. Oh yeah, so I don't know if you can see that little orange thing down there. That is a sensor that hooks up over to here. And this is, I forget what they're called. I think it's the Auto Aqua Gadgets. I forget the exact name. But they sell them on BRS. They got a few different kinds. Anyway, this one hooks up to, that's a temperature sensor down there. And that hooks up right here. And if the temperature in the tank gets too high, it's basically like a cutoff switch. It'll kill the power to the heater, which is pretty important. It's kind of looks like a fail-safe backup for me. So if the heater gets too high, this will cut off the power to it and save the tank that way. And I think that is about it for the equipment down here. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions on any of this or any comments, I'd love to hear them. Please leave them in the comments below. And I think we'll wrap up this video. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.